One of the most important skills in life is emotional self-discipline. It is your ability to control your emotions and direct them where you want instead of them letting control you and your life and direct them where they want to. So many people they miss out on so many great opportunities that life presents to them only because they lack emotional self-discipline. And I understand that because I was that person. I was that person who didn't have any emotional self discipline. In fact, if there was a thing that I had, it was emotional turmoil because I was living my life in emotional turmoil. And I would pick up a thing and I would start doing that thing, and I would be really passionate about it. I would be really motivated to do it. I would be really emotionally excited to do it. And I would do that thing for maybe a week. If it's really good, I would do that thing for a month. And after that, guess what happened? If you're building something, if you're doing something, if you're building something great, or if you're building something that is outside of your comfort zone, one of the things that is really on the plate is challenges. You cannot escape challenges. And so whenever a challenge came my way, whenever a challenge presented itself to me, I was the person who ran away because I lacked the emotional self-discipline to stay there, to work through the challenge and keep doing it. And I was like, I would then find a new thing. So I was this person who had this shiny object syndrome, and my shiny objects were not like cars and all these other things, not shiny objects in real life, but my shiny objects were more of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This project is shiny. Then I would pick up something else, and then I would pick up something else, and then I would pick up something else. And I had that habit, and because of emotional turmoil. And one other area where I had emotional turmoil was just my day to day, because somebody would say something and I would get hurt. Somebody would say something and I would get angry. Something would happen and it would make me like frustrated. And now, as I started my day in, such an optimal peak performer state, and then now I'm frustrated and I can't do anything. I can't push myself to do anything. And there were opportunities that I really missed out on only because I lacked the emotional self-discipline. And I became conscious of this. I said, okay, let's change this because this is not how I'm going to live my life. And, I had talent. I think I had talent. I wanted to be successful, whatever that meant to me back then. I think it meant having more money or doing these kind of things, and it was in that sense. And I wanted to be successful. I had talent. I had a genius. I had intelligence. I used to think I have those things, but what I lacked was the discipline, the emotional self-discipline. And the thing is, you can have all these other things in place. Like you can be a genius, you can be intelligent, you can be creative, you can be all these different things. You can be a great writer, you can be a great singer, but if you're not disciplined, nothing else is going to matter. Because this one thing, it's so key to building anything great. It is so key to doing the things that you want to do and you want to create. Because listen, there might be a lot of people who are more talented than you. There might be a lot of people who are more skilled than you. But the only way that you can get there is if you discipline yourself and you keep practicing and you keep practicing and you discipline yourself. And discipline means you actually discipline yourself. The true discipline comes when things get hard and you still do them. It means sacrifice on your part. Because the world, we talked about this in another video, that the world is set up in a trade. So you always have to give something in order to get something. And most of the time, if you want something great, either you want to hit a great goal that you have, or there's a great purpose that you want to fulfill, or if you think that you have a big purpose that you want to fulfill in your life, it would require you to give a lot on your part. And even if that is an inner purpose, like you want to, I'm going to take a really out of the box example here. Like you want to become spiritually enlightened. Even that path takes a lot of letting go on your part. It takes a lot of work on your part in order to get there. It's like a big goal that you want, then yes, if you want to become self-actualized, you have to give a lot. So that is how anything in the world is set up. And you want to build a great business, guess what? You gotta put in the work, you gotta put in the late hours, you gotta do those things. So It's always that way. And this is not to sound motivational. I'm not that motivational guy. I don't think that, and I don't listen to any of those motivational guys. It's just, and because a lot of motivational guys I'm going to take a side note here. A lot of motivational, there are some good ones as well, but a lot of motivational guys, they're just all about speaking general advice at a high tone and thinking that you'll get it. This is not what this is about. This is about actually making the change. This is about helping you become a better human being through practical wisdom. And so discipline is the key to it, and discipline equals freedom. It really does. If you discipline yourself, if you don't discipline yourself, your life is going to go in a million different directions. But if you do discipline yourself, it's going to be a laser pointed clearly at the thing that you want to do, that you want to create, and the kind of life that you want to live. A life on your terms, not a life on my terms, or how other people tell you what success looks like. Not that, but what you actually want, and you actually desire, and you actually want to do. So now, before we move ahead, welcome to our series on how to build emotional self-discipline. I'm your host, Armughan, and you're watching TruthQuest. And today we are going to discuss how to master emotional self-discipline, part 1. And I want to start with this saying by Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn had this really nice saying, and he said that discipline weighed ounces and regret weighs tons. And discipline seems hard. Disciplining yourself seems hard, and it's like, oh, I got to do this thing. I got to discipline myself. It is hard, but it's not hard if you compare it to regret. For example, you can discipline yourself to eat a bowl of green salad every single day, and it is going to be hard for you because you don't like the taste, you don't like to chew on the leaves, and you don't like to go out and buy vegetables, and you don't like to do all of those things or any of those things. But guess what? 20 years down the line, if you don't do it, and I hope this doesn't happen, but what if you catch a disease? And that disease really costs you a lot in terms of your health, in terms of your mental peace, and in terms of your finances. Got to pay the medical bills, right? And there's it costs you a lot, and because at that time now you'll have regret, and regret, this will weigh ton, and literally in tons, because you would feel that, okay, now I can't go back and shift that change. So discipline weighs ounces. It's a small pain that you carry. It's a small sacrifice that you make, but the results you get is great. So that's it. If you want an easy life, you have to go the hard way. An easy life means if you want a life that is filled with health, prosperity, success, those type of things. And success, again, in your definition, not in my definition or the definition of any third person. You define what success looks like to you. It has to come through discipline. It has to come through taking the hard road, the road not taken, as Robert Frost said it in his poem. So that's it. So, before we move ahead, and I'm going to give you a lot of tools, I'm going to give you a lot of techniques, I'm going to give you the best ones which have helped me to build the emotional self-discipline. But guess what? They are like tools in your toolbox, and you can use them in your life whenever it's necessary. But is there a chance that you have these tools and you carry these around but you never use them? And you might hear about them, and you go, yes, these are nice, I'm going to use them, but then you actually forget to use them, and then you even forget what the tools are. So I'm going to give you models or tools to think about your emotions and work with them and really create a change on the emotional level. But what if you don't actually use it? What good is it? So the discipline of the self-discipline, the emotional self-discipline, is more about you making a commitment to use the tools that you're going to find in this series and use them and practice them on a daily basis, or use them and practice them whenever you feel the need to, because you're gonna get into situations, and guess what, you're gonna forget about them. But then if you keep practicing and you do it again and again, and if you keep doing it, you're gonna build it to a point where you're gonna actually have great results. But it only comes through practice. It's not like you can have these tools and you feel like, okay, I'm an emotionally mature person, or I'm emotionally self-disciplined. It takes practice, and it takes practice it takes practice when you completely forget about it. It's like when you completely forget that, okay, this is what am I on the path of building emotional self-discipline, and you completely lose it, and you're getting angry, you're frustrated or depressed or sad about something, and that's when you actually use these tools, and that's when you're going to get the highest returns on them. So with that said, let's move on. The first thing I want to tell you that this is the throughout my journey on self-development and finding the truth of oneself, this is a single tool that I've found on emotional self-discipline that is actually helping me to this day, and this is the thing that I actually come back to over and over again, and I keep practicing it. And I call this the triad. I learned this from Tony Robbins, and he calls the triad as this, think of it as a triad, and your emotions are actually your state. He calls it your emotional state is actually built by these three things. It's a combination of these three things at any point. And the three things are in order. They are your physiology, your language, and your focus. And all these three things, they combine and they make up whatever that you're feeling, whatever state that you're in. Now, in this video podcast, in this series, this episode of this series, we are only going to talk about these two. In Mastering Emotional Self-Discipline Part 2, we're going to talk about focus. But today we're going to talk about physiology and language. Let's start with language. Why is language so important? Why is language, why would you, is this a language class? Am I teaching English or something? Why would language show up on an emotional basis, in a discussion in emotional self-discipline? Why would this happen? Let me tell you a great story. And I think this would demonstrate exactly the reason we want to use language. And this story is from Tony Robbins. And he narrates this story, and he says that there was this time back years ago where he was doing a deal with a business partner, and he was actually there were three partners, and Tony was a component in them, and they were doing a deal with some other business. So something happened, they stabbed them, and they kind of they didn't fulfill their negotiation. They actually lost their money, and all three of them. And he says that I remember the scene as we were sitting in our office, and all three of us are sitting, and I'm sitting in between, and my first partner is on my right, and another one is on my left. And he says that I'm feeling angry, and I'm feeling frustrated and angry, and it's like I'm stressed right now. And he says the partner to my right, he is like, yes, I am feeling angry and frustrated and stressed. The partner to my right, he's feeling like, I'm gonna kill these people. You have stabbed my back. You guys, I'm just gonna eat you, and I'm not gonna leave these people alive. And he's like jumping and raw and doing all kind of crazy things. And he's trying to tell me, it's okay, yes, they did that, but you don't need to kill them. Come on. And he's trying to calm this down. And on the on his other side, this other guy, he's like sitting there completely calm, and he looks at them, and he looks at this guy, and he's totally confused. And on the other side is this guy who's saying that I'm gonna kill these people. I'm totally frustrated. I can't take it. And Tony's angry. This is the word that he used. He's angry, and he's frustrated as well. He's stressed. But this guy, he's totally calm. And Tony asks him, aren't you angry? Aren't you bothered that they did this to us? And he said, oh yeah, I'm a bit peeved. And he said, peeved? What does that even mean? You're peeved? They have done this thing to us, and you're peeved about it? What kind of word is that? And all the time he's asking this guy's going rah, and he's trying to stop him, and he's like, okay, calm down, don't do that. So, in the same situation. Now, there's a very interesting point here. And Tony actually thought to himself, he said, okay, what is the difference here? And the difference was, all three of them were having the same experience. They were in the same situation. But the actual difference was the words that they used to describe their emotions, what they were feeling. Now this guy, this crazy dude, he's going to kill them. That's the word he used. He's afraid, I'm going to kill them. I can't take it. I don't remember the exact phrases, but there were something along those lines. Tony is angry. He's frustrated. This guy, he's peeved. You see the difference in those words and the difference in the intensity of those words? And the reason this is very important is because language serves as a funnel. Language is a funnel in your brain, and it's like a box in your brain. Not a funnel, but it's like a box in your brain. And the reason I call it's a box is because you're living your life, and you're feeling different things, and different experiences are happening, and you're experiencing different emotions. And you're confused about them. Our brain is a bit confused about them. So we come up with this amazing thing called language, and we come up with this amazing thing called words, and we describe them. We describe these experiences. For example, a certain experience comes in, and it comes in from a funnel, and it goes into a box, and you say, okay, this is frustration, this is anger. Or for another person, the same thing might come into a funnel, and you would say, okay, this is peeved. I'm peeved. That's what I'm feeling. And the other person would say, I'm angry. The other person would say, I can't take it. That is the phrase or the word that he's using. So the words you use to describe the experiences can actually enhance or lower the intensity of the feeling that you're feeling. For example, Tony gives another example. He says that I was listening to, he says he comes back from a seminar really tired, and he's listening to that answering machine. He's really old examples. There are times of answering machine, and he's listening to voice messages from his mother, and her mother is saying, I'm humiliated. I'm just totally humiliated. And it's the word that she uses again and again in so many different voice messages. And he calls her up, and he says, you use that word a lot. It's like a pattern that you have. And he says you're always humiliated because you always use that word. And it happens so that you get an experience, you don't know what, and so based on you search up your mind and you come up with a word for it. And now every time you have that experience, it's like this is the experience I'm having. Okay, I'm going to call this angry. I'm angry. Call this again and again. And something might happen now that it isn't actually getting you angry in that sense, but you would say label it, oh, angry. And now you start feeling angry. So it elicits that feeling. It's like it's conditioning that happens. It's like the classical conditioning model of Pavlov. You get conditioned like Pavlov dogs. It's like we use these words, and they come up with different feelings within ourselves. And I know it's not very powerful. For example, if you're sitting there in anger and I use the word love on you, and you say, I'm going to call you love, and I'm going to say that to you, and you're going to feel very good about it. No, that's not going to happen. But instead of when you're starting to describe your feeling, if you use a word that's different, it's actually going to make you feel very different. So words are like it's like boxes that we put on experiences. And the box that you put on the box that you put on an experience actually can change it, affect it to a lot of degree. So be careful of the words that you're using, because a lot of time they're habituated. And they're very powerful. In fact, they did a study with this tribe. I think that it was an indigenous tribe. And they had, I think, 50 different words for the color blue, for the minute shades of blue. And they showed them this image. And I've seen the image. It was like you or I, we didn't even notice the change in the color blue. It's like it's all blue to us. I mean, what's the difference in that? But it was like very different shades, very slight shades. And they were able to identify all of them. But guess what? When they were shown a color green, it's like very clearly there's blue and then there's green in it. They couldn't even see it. It's like their mind doesn't have a word for it, so as a result, they're not even able to see that color green. Think about that. Think about how much effect language has on our minds, language has on brain, and it's one of the most primitive, ancient tools that we humans have used. It has a lot of evolutionary biology, it has a lot of psychology backing it up. So if you change the language, if you change the word that you're using, and if you become more mindful of it, it's actually going to make a lot of change. Next time you're angry, what if you said, I'm peeved? Or I'm just a bit frustrated. I'm a little overwhelmed. Or I'm a bit challenged. Instead of saying that I'm in pain, what if you said I'm a bit challenged? Would it change the dynamics? Sure will. So change the language. Be careful of the language that you're using and use a better vocabulary. And again, one more thing that we're going to talk about here is, and we're going to move into the next one, is that the tone or the voice of the thing, the word that you're saying really matters. For example, what if I say, I really love you? Is that going to mean anything? Or what if I say, I'm so angry at you? It doesn't convey the same emotion. But what if I say, I'm so angry at you, I'm going to kill you? It means a completely different thing. Or if I say, I really, really, really love you, it means it's like, if I change the tone, if I change the voice that I'm using, it really conveys a completely different thing. It really conveys a completely different emotion. It's not just the word is important, but then the next thing that is important is your physiology and your tone and your voice. So your tone and your voice, and how did I put physiologies in there, is that, remember the triad, the first part is your language. Use a better vocabulary, be careful, be mindful of the words that you're using. And the second thing is your physiology. And by the way, your physiology is a powerful one. It's more powerful than language, in my experience, at least. And your physiology is like, I'll give you an example. They did this study in Harvard, and actually the study was that they measured these different poses. Like they would make their subjects stand in different poses. And one of the poses was like, you have to stand like Superman for 20 seconds. Or you have to stand like Wonder Woman for 20 seconds. Or you have to stand with your shoulder back and your chest facing the world. And you have to become totally confident. And that's how you have to stand. And they did that. And they measured that within, it's like really fast changes, the cortisol, which is the stress hormone in their body, would drop down up to 20%, and their testosterone would actually go up by 20%. So it's like, what that actually means in real terms is you are more able to take actions, you're more confident, you're less stressed, and you're more action driven just by standing like this for 20 seconds. It's like just a simple change in your physiology, in the way you show up in the world, in the way you use this meat suit. It actually changes so much in your body, and it actually has a totally different effect on your mind, on your brain. And this is the problem that I think we make, that we think our brain is just, it's this thing is our brain. But it's not. That your brain is actually all the way down here. It's your body is a part of your brain. It's all interconnected. It's not like your body is this one thing, your brain is this one thing. It's all interconnected. You make a change in one, the other would automatically affect. For example, you tell me, let's say there are these two curtains, and behind curtain A, there's a person who is really depressed. What would he look like? He's really sad. Would he be upright? I don't think so. He would be downright. He would just sit like this. And would his tone be really exciting and inspirational, or would he really be speaking like this? Would he sound so inspirational and in multitone, or would he be monotone? And he would not raise or lower his voice at all. So you see, just by, you didn't know who the person is, but you can give a certain description of how he's using his body. And I bet if you just change the way that you use your body, it will actually change a lot for you. It will actually change the way that you're feeling. And again, in another study, they took participants who were clinically depressed. I mean, one of the women in that study, that group, cried herself to sleep every single night. And all they said to them, there's, remember, no drugs, nothing. All they said to them is, look up, every day you wake up, all you have to do is stand in front of the mirror and smile for 30 seconds. And do it for absolutely no reason. There's no reason for it, just do it. And the participants did it. And within a few days, all of them were literally cured of their depression. Think about that. Your face has so many muscles. I think it was 80 muscles. And how much are you using? Just when you're frowning, it's like you're just using so little muscles. But when you're smiling, you're using a lot of the muscles on your face. So be creative with it. Make faces. Go smile. So, and use your body in a way that supports those emotions. And again, when you're depressed or when you're feeling anger, you wouldn't want to do that. For example, when you're feeling anger, your heart starts racing, your body starts tensing up, and you want to punch someone, and you want to, really make someone bleed, But what if you start to relax at that time? What if you start to just it's okay. I can just relax. Just take deep breaths. Would that have a change on you? I'm really sure that it would. Because when we talk physiology, we talk two things. We talk posture and we talk breathing. And though both of those things have a really great impact on you. And posture is just the way you show up in the world. If you're always like this and you're just looking down and you sit like this, you'll actually be a very depressed person. In fact, I know a guy, and this guy, you can, just from his the person's posture and the way the person carries themselves around, it's like you can say that this person is not very happy with his life. It's not very satisfied, I would say. So, but if you see a person who's always like this and you're speaking and the tone and the voice and the tonality and everything is on point, it's like, yes, this is the guy I want to be with. And whatever, let me just take a side note here, that whatever energy that you have, whatever energy that you're carrying, it's contagious. It spreads to the people around you. So if this person and you always speak like this, it will actually affect the people who are around you. But if you're this person and you actually speak like you're on stage or something, that would actually also affect the people around you. So be careful of what emotional energy that you're carrying within yourself. So with that said, posture and breathing, these are the two things. Posture is how you show up in the world. Breathing is classic example, smoking a cigarette. People go and what do? They put a cigarette in their mouth, and yes, I know there are other psychological reasons, like they want to be macho and they want to be, it's also like a social, they want to fit into the circle if the circle is smoking, yes. But the reason people are depressed or when they are not feeling good as much and they go and they light one up, what that does is it actually, you take deep breaths. And when you're taking deep breaths, it's not actually the taste that you like, I know, I don't like that much, but it's the taste, it's the feeling of taking deep breaths. And what if you actually take deep breaths without that? Try doing that sometime and let's see what kind of effect that has on you. And yes, there's the drug as well. It goes down and it also creates a change in your physiology. What do the drugs that you put in your mouth in the form of serotonin or nicotine, tobacco, whatever it is, it actually creates a physiological change as well. It's a chemical change. But what about when you stand like this, like a Superman? It also creates a chemical change. It also creates a physiological change. And most doctors, they suggest antidepressants to people, and they don't work. Is yes, the antidepressants, they do create a physiological change, a neurochemical change in you, but the other change is it overpowers it, because if you're sitting like this and all of the time your physiology is like this, it will overpower the small change that the antidepressant is making. And the other term is you're breathing, like I gave you the example of smoking. If you take deep breaths and you're breathing like really deep into your diaphragm, it's a completely different world. But if you're breathing like this and you're speaking like this, you don't know what to do. You're stressed. Oh my God, where am I gonna go? It's like it's a completely different world. So correct your posture, breathing, essential to your physiology. So these are the things that we are going to talk about. We were going to talk about today. Remember, the language that you're using and habitually, your postures and your patterns and your everything, that is also habitual as well. So be mindful, start changing that, start working on that. And I'm going to give you an exercise. So when you close this video, do this. There was this, and this exercise was inspired by this one girl. This one girl, she used to go to parties, and she used to, like, the boys would, this is what they said about her. They said the boys literally flocked to her. I don't know what is it about her, but like, she's not the prettiest girl in her circle, but the boys flock to her. Like, what is it that you do? And she says that, okay, here's what I do. Every time before I walk into a club, I close my eyes. I imagine as if I'm on stage and I'm performing, and I stand like that, and I feel the rush within myself, and I feel myself as a rock star. And based on that, I walk into the room and I walk like a rock star. I talk to people as if I'm a rock star, and I just think of myself as a rock star. And he says this is the thing that actually makes all the boys flock to you. And you don't have that kind of look, still the boys flock to you. So I'm going to give you this exercise. Pretend you're a rock star. Just close your eyes when this video ends. Close your eyes. Pretend you're a rock star. Hey, nobody's watching. Okay. Just close your eyes. Pretend as if just imagine as if you're performing on stage and there's a crowd there, and you have your guitar or you have your on drums or whatever it is that you love, and you're doing that, and it's like people are cheering at you and they're clapping for you, and all this great thing is happening. And then when you do that for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, however long you want to do, open your eyes and pretend as if you're still a rock star. Just go and see the kind of change it makes in you, the way that you walk, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you breathe. It will create a lot of change, and do it long enough and people will start noticing. And this is how you get girls or guys. I'm just kidding. This is how you build emotional self-discipline. I'm going to see you in the next one. If you have enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to watch this video on my side. It also relates to physics, philosophy, and personal development. And also, don't forget to subscribe. Continue seeking truth and become a truth seeker.